2 years ago, I began working on a theory that all the structures and the obvious trail markers that I find out in the forest that I believe are constructed by Sasquatch were a language, a sign language. And I felt if I could discover the meaning of those signs, the language that they represent, that it would further my research into this phenomenon. Initially, I thought that these signs that I was seeing might be of native tribe origin. So I began looking into that. And indeed, I did find some similarities. But it really didn't match up to the extent that I had hoped. Well, while I was still studying in that vein, I came across a video of a world-renowned leading ancient Hebrew researcher, the ancient Hebrew language and written text. And he was telling the story of having met a Creek Indian woman who is a Christian and pastors a Christian church in the Creek Indian community. And he discovered that much of the language, the spoken language, that the Creek Indian use in discussing God and the Scripture is very close to the ancient Hebrew tongue. So close that he was able to converse with this lady in Hebrew, and she was able to converse with him in Creek, and they well understood one another. Well, that gave me what I needed to broaden my search. So I began looking into the ancient Semitic Hebrew language, its alphabet, and I discovered that it's a series of 20 to 22 glyphs that depict things, and that each of those glyphs has a name, a picture, what it looks like, a sound, and a meaning. So I obtained a chart of the ancient Semitic Hebrew, and I began comparing that to the stick structures and signs that I find in the forest. And what I discovered is that the ancient Hebrew Semitic text glyphs matched up with what I saw in the forest to an astonishing degree. So I have begun a series of videos that I have posted, beginning to reveal what I have found. And here I'm going to expound on it some. There is a lot of the research that I have not nailed down or confirmed for myself yet, so I will not include it here. What I'm going to include here is what I am very confident is the truth and can be relied on in our study of this phenomenon, I do believe that we as a Bigfoot research community will discover this creature as being real and live, and we will describe it for science. If you will study Scripture, ancient texts that are not included in the 66 book canon that we call today's Bible, and texts that are included in the Bible, you will learn of the story of the fallen ones creating hybrids. And this is what brought about the flood. As a matter of fact, in the 66 book canon, today's Bible, you can read where there were giants in the land before and after the flood. The books that are not included in that canon expound upon this quite a bit. I don't want to get too lost in that, but it's enough to say that if you believe in God and you believe in His Word, then you have to believe that these hybrids did exist and do exist. That is just a fact. Now, the original language, the only language that existed on this earth prior to Babel, was the Hebrew language. The scriptures call it the pure language. And at Babel, God confused the tongues and then scattered the tribes. He did this because humanity was conspiring against him. So God decided, I'll confuse their tongues and I'll scatter them across the world, and that'll stop that. Now, my theory is that these hybrid beings that were created by the fallen ones retained the Hebrew language. And they still have that language today. And these hybrids are indeed what we know as Sasquatch and Bigfoot. This is my theory. I can be wrong. We as a community will sort this thing out. The time is coming. The resources are at hand. So let's begin. So let's begin at the beginning with the first symbol of the Semitic alphabet, the Aleph. The Aleph means strong, power, leader. It's the sign of strength. And the Tav, which is the 22nd symbol of the Semitic alphabet, means mark, sign, signal, monument. And in Semitic Hebrew, when you combine the Aleph and the Tav, you are creating the mark, the monument, the sign of the king. Or in the case of the Sasquatch that I'm studying here, the ruler of this clan, the alpha of this clan. It's very interesting. The Aleph and the Tav. The next symbol I want to show you is a Hayek. It's the 8th symbol of the Semitic alphabet. Hayek means wall, divide, half, outside. What is significant about this het, Hayek, is it is between two tavs, which is mark, signal, monument, sign. One is an alpha tav that I've already shown you. The other is a tav with no aleph. But it clearly is dividing two areas, which I believe means that it is separating the habitual areas or the territories of two separate family groups, or perhaps even two clans. I don't believe two clans necessarily, because there's an aleph tav and then a tav, tav being lesser. This symbol is the He. It's the 5th symbol of the Semitic alphabet, and it means look, reveal, or breath. It's often used in ancient Hebrew text to point something out or to emphasize something. And indeed, this He is pointing out something. In a moment, you're going to see what that is. The He is not always spoken in Hebrew, but it is written either before or after something else. Now this He is pointing out a tav, and there it is. This is the tav I was speaking about that is lesser to the aleph tav and is separated by the het. I believe that this tav is the mark and the sign of a lesser male, a not dominant male over the clan, but perhaps of his own family group.